I'm Dan.
I'm Dani.
This is Dan's on Fandoms. Holy shit balls.
We had quite the weekend.
Quite the goddamn weekend. But first, Merry Sithmas.
Merry Sithmas to
Happy
you
holidays.
too, Dan. I don't have a funny one for that.
Christmas came early for us this year, huh?
So much Star Wars content. It is wild.
But even just the last week or so, we've gotten an incredible ending to Watchmen.
Yep.
His Dark Materials.
Yep.
Fucking Mandalorian.
Check.
And then the Rise of Skywalker.
Double fucking check.
And we haven't delved into The Witcher yet, but I haven't seen a ton of shit about The Witcher yet.
Honestly, I've not been paying attention, but I also haven't seen anything either. Like maybe a couple of YouTube videos that I have tried to stay away from because I don't want any spoilers yet. I want to enjoy it.
I'm just fingers crossed that it's good. I'm just hoping that we have another cool show to delve into and also to talk about with you guys. But I guess we'll see. We're going to watch it at some point over the next probably week and a half or so.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So what we figured we would do today is we're going to delve into episodes 6 and 7 of The Mandalorian. And then we figured we would talk about our initial thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker. We're going to do at a later date a complete breakdown on the film, but we figured we're fucking riding high on Star Wars content. Let's at least share with you guys our initial thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker, and then hopefully, we're going to see it at least one more time, but I wouldn't be opposed to maybe seeing it 2 times.
I was honestly thinking
3
about
times.
that today. I was thinking at least 2 more times today. We've already seen it twice. I had one of my coworkers ask me today, they're like, how many times did you see this movie this week? And I was like, only twice. It's fine. Are you sure about that?
We're going to see it at least one more time, but I would not be surprised if we go 2 more times. But spoilers are abound for episode 6 and 7 of Mandalorian, and then probably some spoilers for The Rise of Skywalker. So let's delve into Mandalorian.
Oh, I'm ready. My body is ready. So in episode 6, at the very beginning of the episode, Mando, we find, has reached out to an old criminal buddy by the name of Ran, because you got to get some money somehow. You need to get some work.
Apparently, there is no unemployment insurance in a galaxy far, far away.
Just in this one here.
So he needs some income.
And he's got another mouth to feed. He's got a little baby Yoda. He's got a kid to look out for.
Right off the bat, I knew something was up with Ran, right? That actor, I feel like he is typecast at this point. He always kind of plays weasels and greaseballs.
That is a very good point, yes.
Because I just remember, what's the detective's name? I can't remember. He played a detective in Batman Begins, and it's based off of a detective from Batman Year One who is a greasy detective. And yeah, so that dude definitely plays greaseballs. So I knew right off the bat, he's probably going to double cross or do something shady to the Mandalorian.
As Ran and Mando are talking, we find out that this job is to spring one of Rand's associates from his competitors. No names dropped, just competitors. And he needs a ship, and he tells Mando that they are going to use the Razor Crest for this job, which Mando was not happy about at all.
And we learn that the reason why Rand wanted to use the Razor Crest is because it's such an old ship. It's not on the Imperial or New Republic grid, and it could actually jam New Republic code, so it's perfect ship for them to get in and out quickly.
So we then meet Bill Burr's character Mayfeld, who is a huge piece of shit in this episode.
I loved Bill Burr's performance. I thought he did such a fucking stellar job as Mayfeld.
He really did, and I totally forgot until after we watched this episode that Bill Burr was in Breaking Bad, and he was also a piece of shit.
Well, kind of, sort of. Not as big of a piece of shit as in this. But yes, I have to say, I thought he did a pretty good job. He surpassed my expectations with his acting.
Completely agree. And we also find out that Mayfeld used to be an Imperial sharpshooter, not a stormtrooper. He was very adamant about that.
I love that. He was like, not a stormtrooper, because clearly the joke is that stormtroopers can't hit anything with their blaster bolts, and my man's a sharpshooter. We also were introduced to Berg, a fucking Deveronian, and I love that. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure that Berg might be one of, if not the only Devaronians that we've seen in a live-action Star Wars story outside of A New Hope, because I believe Devaronians were introduced in the cantina scene during A New Hope. So I love that we are getting this meathead Devaronian that's a part of the crew.
We then meet Zero the droid, who is going to be steering and flying the ship during this mission.
Oh, and Zero was so good.
What did he say? He was very cocky and kind of like, or he was programmed very assertive.
Yeah, oh, he was so good. And he's basically saying the Razor Crest is a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's running at like 63% efficiency.
Oh, yeah, we found out the Razor Crest is really in disarray. Peli did not do a good job. It might have been maybe Mando not telling her or not allowing her to use the droids, but she might have been overpaid for that job.
She ripped him off, man. She's not the best grease monkey, basically.
But she loved Baby Yoda. That's all that matters.
And then the last person that we meet that's a part of this crew is Xi'an at Twi'lek, and I love that we're getting some more live-action Twi'leks. And we find out that she was romantically involved with the Mando, and I like that Mayfeld asks Xi'an if she had seen the Mandalorian without his helmet on, because if they're romantically involved, you would have to, I would imagine, take that helmet off, unless my boy gets buck naked from the shoulders down only.
Mando fucks, but he does it with a helmet on. There's no doubt in my mind.
No conolingus then, or analingus, huh?
He's not an equal opportunity lover, apparently.
The crew's assembled, and we find out that the plan is that Zero is going to fly the Razor Crest, because the maneuver that needs to be done to allow them to get onto this ship is basically undoable by a human or an organic. It has to be done by a droid.
They showed the path that the Razor Crest is going to take, and that looked wild. So yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. And so from there now, they're heading to this ship to get the job done. And en route, Berg is rummaging through the Razor Crest, much to Mando's displeasure. At one point, Mando and Berg are almost getting into blows, and Xi'an and Mayfeld are being just total fucking twats, dude, to Mando. And Mayfeld wants the Mandalorian to take his helmet off, and of course that's been a reoccurring thing throughout the season. And Berg goes to take Mando's helmet off. Mando jacks him up, and during the scrum, he accidentally opens up the little cubby hole that Baby Yoda is hiding in.
My God, that was like heart-dropping.
Oh, dude, that part, yeah, I was like, fuck, palms started getting super sweaty at that part.
It's like, no, these assholes don't need to know who Yoda is and shouldn't know where he is.
Yeah, I was super worried about that, because clearly this whole crew is just made up of a bunch of piece of shits. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh God, what's going to happen to Baby Yoda? And their first inclination is that this is a pet that the Mandalorian has. They don't realize what Baby Yoda is. They just think that it's some kind of pet.
And I love how Mando kind of goes along with that. Mayfeld asks him directly, is this a pet? Like, what is this thing? And he's like, yeah, something like that.
Now, at some point, Mando realizes that they are breaking into a New Republic prison ship, and he is not thrilled about it, but he needs the credits. He's too far in at this point. He's going to go through with this. Zero gets them attached to the ship, and now we see the Mandalorian doing his thing to open up that airlock so that they can get on the ship. While the Mandalorian is doing this, we see Xi'an whispering something to Mayfeld, which, again, they're just a bunch of greaseballs, so you knew at that point something bad is going to happen.
This whole episode had a ball in the pit of my stomach. Like, at what point is Mando going to be double-crossed or just get himself into trouble with the people that he's with?
I completely agree with you, man. This entire episode, I just felt like I was sitting on the edge of my seat. Once aboard the ship, they're now heading to the control room. And while they're en route to the control room, we see some prisoners, one of which is an Imperial officer, as well as an Ardinian, made famous by our boy Rio in Solo.
I really enjoyed those callbacks and seeing there were a couple of people that we saw in the cells and like, ooh, what did they do? Who are they?
That one weird, like, sloth-looking guy, I have no clue what that species was.
Good, because I didn't either, so if you don't know...
Yeah, we'll just call him Sloth.
Sloth man.
He looked like Sloth from Goonies.
And then at that point, we do see that Berg finds a mouse droid, or a mouse droid goes by And Berg was not happy about that, so he shoots it. And then around the corner come, 4 or 6 other droids with guns?
Yeah, New Republic security droids or some shit like that.
Yep, so Mando starts kicking some droid ass. He kind of goes around behind them. I loved how he came in with a knife and cut off the one droid's leg. He slid through. That was so cool.
That was pretty
looking.
awesome. Couple of things about this scene. We see the rest of the crew does absolutely fucking nothing to help the Mandalorian. But also, it's interesting that at this point, we're seeing these droid guards. And a big reason why that is that the New Republic has demilitarized. In some of the additional stories outside of the sequel trilogy in some of the books, some of the other content, we have learned that after the fall of the Empire, the New Republic winds up taking power, and Mon Mothma, she winds up becoming the Chancellor, and she demilitarizes the New Republic. So they're using droids to help with stuff like security and stuff like manning this prison ship.
So as we move along, we actually do find out that there is a human on board. We thought it was just droids on this prison ship, who is actually played by Matt Lanter, who is the voice of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars, which was so cool.
I love that we got Matt Lanter in the episode.
So his name is Davin, and Davin actually is in the control room with a tracker to call the New Republic if any shit hits the fan. And we find out the shit does hit the fan. There is a standoff with Mando, Berg, and Mayfeld, and Davin with guns drawn at one another. And then Xi'an steps in, throws her knife, and kills Davin. And Davin ends up pressing the button on the tracker as he dies.
And Zero tells them that they only have, 20 minutes, I believe, until these New Republic ships are going to get to the prison ship. So they got to hurry up and get this shit done quickly and get the fuck out of there.
Right. Now they're on a big time crunch.
Now they're getting to the cell of the Associate, and we learn that it's another Twi'lek named Quinn, who previously worked with the Mandalorian, and he's actually Xi'an's brother. And I guess the last time that Quinn and Mando were together, Mando left Quinn, and possibly this is why he's imprisoned, but we don't know fully. But fucking Mayfeld and the rest of the crew turn on him and push Mando into the prison cell as Quinn is coming out and lock him in the cell.
I think I gasped at that moment. I was like, no!
I was so pissed, dude. I mean, clearly by the end of the episode, he's not going to be stuck in that cell, but it's like, these dirty sons of bitches.
Terrible.
And really quickly, I thought this was a nice touch too, because we see that Xi'an and Quinn both have fangs. Twi'leks don't have fangs. They naturally have teeth like you and I, but some Twi'leks, it's a thing that they'll sharpen their teeth. So you'll see some Twi'leks have sharpened teeth, some Twi'leks do not. So that's why Xi'an and Quinn have sharpened teeth, because they've done that to their teeth. They followed them bitches down. So now we see Mando is fucking locked in the cell, and a droid is walking by. He uses his grappling hook wire thingy to pull him towards the cell, and winds up breaking the droid's arm off so that he can get that slicing thingy majiggy that they use to slice into the computers, and he breaks out of the cell. He heads directly to the control room, and he locks the ship down, and from there it basically turns into a horror movie.
Oh, I thought this was so cool.
Oh, it was done so well. It was so good, and I love it because basically it's I've got you bitches, you're mine now. The Mandalorian is just going to destroy these sons of bitches.
Mm-hmm. So as the ship is being locked down, Xi'an and Quinn get separated, and Quinn flips on a dime and is willing to leave without his sister. He's like, yep, whatever, fuck her.
Yeah, they're all pieces of crap.
But then we also go back to the ship to see Zero and Baby Yoda watching Zero, just kind of investigating his surroundings. And he ends up playing a really scary game of hide and seek, because he kind of goes to investigate Zero, and then he realizes, oh, this guy is not on my side.
Baby Yoda is wiser than we think. From what we've gathered from these episodes, Baby Yoda is smarter than we assume. He just can't talk, but he understands things, and he clearly knows what is happening in his surroundings. So yeah, he knows that Zero is not an ally.
Mm-hmm. Then we cut back to Mando hunting down Berg, and Xi'an split up so they can go and find and kill Mando. Berg fights Mando first. He gets to the control room. Mando's standing above him on a grate, and again, that grappling hook, he goes to try to choke him out. Then he goes to fry his ass, which
His
it's not
go-to move.
every freaking episode, which the flamethrower is not going to work because the Deveronians are fire resistant.
Yeah, man. Come on, Mando. He looks like the devil. Come on. You got to know better, Mando. But I love that he tried to use his whistling birds on him, but those couldn't get Berg either.
So my thought was maybe Berg hit it accidentally, so I don't know if maybe he didn't have power over it to send it to where he wanted to.
So Mando winds up going with his second favorite move, which is using a door to incapacitate a son of a bitch.
But I loved how the first one drops and Berg lifts it up. So it was the second set of doors that chopped parts of his horn off.
And then from there, we see he winds up catching Xi'an. They're having a knife fight. He gets a knife in the shoulder/arm, but then he winds up getting her, and then eventually he gets Mayfeld. This entire like cat and mouse that's happening is done so well. We see that these like the lights on the ship are now all red. They're flashing. It's just done so goddamn well. Rick Fumiyawa did such a great job directing this episode, and I love that we get this point where it's really basically just like a horror movie that we're seeing. It's so cool. So from there, now Mando catches up to Quinn, and initially he's going to kill him, but then Quinn says to him, "Aren't you a man of honor? Don't you have a code?" And of course Mando does. So he figures, you know what, I'm going to bring this guy in and I'm going to collect my money. We get back to the ship, but
so Zero is still hunting Baby Yoda, and we see that Baby Yoda is getting nervous. So Zero's got the gun on him, and Baby Yoda brings up his hand to use the Force against Zero, and all of a sudden we see this big flash, and Mando actually shoots Zero from behind. And then you see little Baby Yoda kind of look at his hand like he doesn't know if he did it or not, or if it was something else. And then we see Zero drop and Mando's behind him.
Every time he like opens his mouth and you see those little teeth, like I just want to stick my finger in his mouth and like just like tap his little teeth a little. He's so cute.
I haven't heard that one before, like people touch his head or like stroke his ears, but his little teeth, okay.
Those teeth, those ears.
Jumping teeth.
Then from there, Mando brings Quinn back to Ran, and as Mando is heading off, we see Ran saying, "Kill him," but we notice that Mando, being a smart son of a bitch, leaves the New Republic tracker on Quinn. So now 3 X-Wings are descending on Ran's lair. And I love this because it's Dave Filoni in one X-Wing, Deborah Chow in another, and then the director of this episode, Rick Fumiyawa, in the last X-Wing. So I love that. So all 3 of these people being directors for previous Mandalorian episodes are now getting these cameos at the end of the episode. So I thought that was really cool.
That was really fun. And those 3 X-Wing fighters blow Rand's hideout. Actually, I will say, it looks like they just got the ship, but we didn't see the rest of the hideout actually get blown up. So
That's very true.
I'm interested to see if maybe we go back maybe in next season or something like that. And then the last scene that we see in this episode is Mayfeld, Xi'an, and Berg are all still alive because it was left up to question. And they're locked in a cell on that prison ship that's on its way.
Mando's got a code, man. He's not about that life anymore. He's not about just killing people for target practice, right? He's a man of honor at this point. So I thought that was really cool because we do get the scene in the beginning of the episode where Rand tells Mayfeld his whole reasoning why he was living this life and partnering up with Rand was just target practice. Well, that's not him anymore.
Are you ready for the next one?
Oh, baby, you know I am. So that brings us to episode 7, and the episode begins. We get a comm from our boy Grief. He is sending an olive branch to the Mandalorian, and he's telling them that after the Mandalorian fucked shit up on Navarro, the Imperial Remnant tightened their grip on the system. And because of this, that is messing with the Bounty Hunter Guild's profits at this point. So Grief is telling Mando, if you come help us take out Werner Herzog and the remaining Imperial Remnant, we will forget about your previous transgressions and I'll also pay you for your work.
And then we go into a classic rounding up the gang again. So Mando goes to get Kara on Sorgan, And we see her in this like tethered brawl match, which I thought was super cool. Again,
of course, yeah.
I mean,
let's get the MMA fighter to do as much fighting as possible. I love that they did that.
I was going to say, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So we see that she's actually fighting a Zabrak who is the same species as Darth Maul, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Cara doesn't want any of Mando's plan when Mando kind of spells it out to her until Mando says that it's an Imperial, and she's like, all right, I'm in.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Those were the magic words. I also thought it was interesting that Mando actually let Cara go through his weapons closet. Like when they were flying.
Take what you want, baby.
I know. She was like, had free reign over there. I was like, this is impressive.
He trusts her, man. He trusts his gut, and he knows that she's a good egg.
So as Cara is finishing up going through the closet, we see little baby Yoda from the cockpit kind of sticks his head down upside down and is watching Mando and Cara, and he hears that it's not safe for Mando and little baby Yoda until the client is gone. So baby Yoda goes back up to the cockpit and starts steering the ship, and then chaos ensues. You have lights flashing, beeping. Mando and Cara were a little surprised and kind of shocked at what was going on.
Again, right, he clearly understands the situation. He understands that they are in trouble. They're not in a good spot, and he's trying to get them the hell out of there. So yeah, he clearly knows what is going on. He understands his surroundings and his environment. And yeah, Baby Yoda is smarter than we think.
Agreed. He's a smart little guy.
And then from there, we wind up going to Arvala 7, which is where our boy Quill has retired to. And Mando's telling him, hey, I need your help. I need your expertise. I'll pay you handsomely. And Quill tells him, I don't want your money. I'll do it for you, basically you and Mando and Baby Yoda. I'll do it to help you guys out. So the gang is assembled, baby.
Since Mando's been gone, Quill has actually gone to where the fortress that Baby Yoda was held at, and he found the decommissioned or the dead IG-11. We get a brief montage of Quill basically putting IG-11 back together again and kind of teaching him from start to finish what it's like to be a droid.
Couple things that I love about this. Number one, I love that he drops this little nugget that he was able to get IG-11 based upon like the New Republic Charter or New Republic Constitution. I guess that in the New Republic, finders keepers is a thing. But also, when we were watching this, during this scene, we paused and we said, there's a reason why they're showing this. There is a reason why we are getting this like minute to 2 minute clip of IG-11 being programmed and taught how to basically be a service droid when he was programmed to be a droid that just killed. And this plays into what we find out later in the episode. We see the gang is on the Razor Crest, and Mando and Cara Dune are arm wrestling, and Baby Yoda gets scared, I guess, for Mandalorian, and fucking force chokes Cara Dune.
That was wild. We were like, oh my God, did that seriously just happen?
I got to give you credit here because you picked up on this before I did. When you take into account what we just saw with IG-11, Quill is telling the Mandalorian, droids only do what they are imprinted to do and what their programming tells them to do. Someone programmed a droid to do something. When we think about Baby Yoda in this context, all Baby Yoda is seeing and learning is nothing but violence at this point. Nothing but being distressed, being in trouble, constantly being surrounded by dangerous situations. So it makes sense that Baby Yoda is now having to react accordingly, because from the moment we are introduced to Baby Yoda, this baby at this point has known nothing but a stressful life and violence. We could presume that even before this, Baby Yoda probably had a life that was nothing but violence or stress, considering Baby Yoda was being held by a fucking gang of thugs.
Right, so at this point, he's going to use any means necessary to protect the one person who in his 50 years of life has really shown him any Granted, it's not a ton of compassion, but has shown him compassion and the ability to take care of him and help him and protect him.
I wonder if Baby Yoda is going to wind up becoming a foundling Mandalorian.
That would be so cool.
Right? This is the way, baby. But, I mean, when you think about that and you think about the scene with Cara Dune and Mandalorian, and then you think back to what Quill is telling the Mandalorian about IG-11, that just makes sense. Right? This being has known nothing but fucking violence. And when you're surrounded by nothing but violence, your actions and your temperament and how you handle situations is going to be in response to how you have been brought up. So it's no surprise that we're seeing little baby Yoda force choking the shit out of Cara Dune. But Quill and Mando and Cara, they still have no clue what's going on. Like, they don't understand the Force whatsoever. Because remember, the Purge happened, I want to say it was 20 or 30 years prior to A New Hope. So the Purge following the Clone Wars, when Emperor Palpatine took control of the galaxy. Then we have about that 5-year span of time frame. I think it was 4 or 5 years between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. And now we're fast forwarding about 5 or 8 years. So it's probably been about 40 or 50 years since the Jedi Order has been around in where we are in the story with the Mandalorian. So they have no fucking clue what the Force is.
We do then learn that Quill was actually an indentured slave for the Imperials, for the Empire. So, and he was able to buy his freedom by working for about 3 human lifetimes, which is crazy.
Do you think that's for real? Like, so what would that be, like 210 years or some shit like that?
I want to say, I think I read that Ugnaughts can be 250, 300 years old, so I guess that does make sense.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, yeah, that makes sense.
But at that point, I guess if he was a slave, maybe he wouldn't have heard about the Force or things like that, because he was working for the Empire, but he
would have had no clue. But although if he's 200-something years, you would think
he would remember that point in history.
But even still, like, the Jedi Order was still, there was, tens of thousands of Jedi, even at the height of them, but you're talking about a galaxy where you're billions and trillions of fucking beings, right?
That's very true. It's very spread out. So if you're working on one world as an indentured slave, you're not going to know anything that's going on light years away.
So yeah, the everyday person in the galaxy, even at the height of the Jedi Order, didn't really have any interaction with Jedi. So it's very understandable that now when there are no more Jedi, and there haven't been for decades, that people have no fucking clue what the Force is or what these abilities would be. So from there, we wind up back on Navarro, and we see our boy Greef. And dude, Carl Weathers is just the man. And we see that Greef now has several other bounty hunters with him. And they had to meet far outside of town because of how many Imperials now control the main town that the Bounty Hunters Guild is located at.
So as they go across the Navarro lava fields, heading back towards town, they do have to camp out for a night. And Greef is explaining the plan for when they meet up with Werner Herzog, the client, and the Imperials. As he goes and grabs some food and says something along the lines of, "What could go wrong?"
Shit goes wrong.
Of course. Greef is attacked by some kind of pterodactyl type creature while they're camping, and he's seriously injured, and one of the bounty hunters is actually killed.
Yeah, and what we see in this scene is fucking really cool. And it basically, the timing of this scene, I don't think is a coincidence with the Rise of Skywalker, because we see that Baby Yoda, as he tried to do in a previous episode, now comes and uses the Force to heal our boy Greef.
I love how Greef is in his...
He's gonna eat me.
I was gonna say, in his throes of terror, was talking about, and Kara's just like, "Get this thing away from me. Like, get it out of the way."
They don't realize the power of the Force, man.
Of course, you have Quill, who's the voice of reason here.
Hold on.
Let's see what he does.
So now the following day, we see them on the outskirts of town, and Greef pulls up and blasts those 2 bounty hunters to smithereens and basically tells them, "Surprise, we were going to kill you, but after seeing what Baby Yoda can do, I understand why you rescued him from the Empire."
That still doesn't make you want to trust him. I feel like that almost makes you want to trust him less.
Oh, absolutely, right? But now the plan is we're going to pretend Cara Dune captured the Mandalorian. So her, Mando, and Greef are going to head into town with the pram empty. Quill is going to go back to the Razor Crest with Baby Yoda. And Mando tells him to enact some sort of like protocol, maybe security protocol or something like that. So if shit hits the fan, the Razor Crest will be able to hopefully keep them safe.
As we enter the town, we see that the stormtroopers are out in force. The Imperials have really upped their forces, whether they're wandering around or just kind of stationed everywhere.
And yeah, we see these two scout troopers are patrolling like the entranceway into the town. They ask them for their chain code, which is, I'm assuming, is basically like their identification.
That was my thought as well.
So maybe like their social security number, that would be an equivalent.
Driver's license?
Yeah, right. They get through, they head to Werner Herzog's office, basically. It's a bar, cantina. So yeah, now they're going to meet with Werner Herzog and say that we've captured Mandalorian, we've got Baby Yoda, but he's asleep, so we can't wake him up. During this scene, we see that Werner Herzog starts talking about Mandalore and the Great Purge, and we learn a little bit that essentially Mandalore resisted Imperial expansion into that system. That is essentially, from what we can gather, why there was that Great Purge. Mandalore resisted the Empire, and the Empire probably just fucked shit up.
Werner Herzog also referred to the Galactic Civil War as a revolution, which was pretty crazy.
I like that, because that's the first time we've ever heard the Galactic Civil War referred to as a revolution. So I like that they added that little touch.
Just as that conversation is wrapping up, Werner Herzog gets a call that he needs to take immediately. And it turns out to be the long-awaited Moff Gideon.
Gus Fring, baby.
So good.
Space Cowboy Gus Fring. Yeah, and I think we're seeing Moff Gideon, just how ruthless he is here, because my interpretation of what happens, because we get this call from Moff Gideon, Werner Herzog answers it, and then gets blown the fuck up by Death Troopers. And my take is Moff Gideon is pissed because you had Baby Yoda in your grasp. You let him go. And now we had to go through all of this bullshit so that you can get Baby Yoda back. And Baby Yoda means a lot. You don't understand how much Baby Yoda means to us. Fuck you, Werner Herzog. But while this is all happening, Mando sends a transmission to Quill telling him, get back to the Razor Crest. Shit is hitting the fan. Protect Baby Yoda. 2 scout troopers outside intercept the transmission, and they are fucking heading for Quill and Baby Yoda. And much to our dismay, our boy is dead.
We believe.
Although, one of the Star Wars tropes, people come back from a lot worse. So
that's very, very true.
If Darth Maul can get fucking chopped in half, Quill could be revived from a blaster bolt.
Right, so Quill's laying on the ground looking like he's dead, and then we see Baby Yoda in his little swaddle get scooped up by one of these stormtroopers.
And that's it. Dude, Deborah Chow, holy shit. She directed episode 3 and episode 7. And from those episodes, if this is what we're getting from her, I'm so fucking excited for what she is going to do with the Obi-Wan series, because she is the showrunner for the Obi-Wan series.
I'm so excited. I
think
oh my
God, dude.
She's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. So holy shit, dude. I literally had my mouth completely open saying, oh my God, at the end of that episode, just completely floored by what we just watched.
There were a couple of tears on my part, not gonna lie.
Yeah, oh my God, dude. So I cannot wait for the next episode. So bummed that it's the season finale, but man, this show has been incredible. And episodes like this just make me love that we have a Mandalorian live action show, because my God, dude.
Yeah, I know there were a couple episodes early in this season that we weren't as keen on, but it was all worth it. If we have, especially 6 and 7, if 8 is anything like these past 2 episodes, it's going to be a really fun ride.
Hell yeah, absolutely. So dude, let's switch gears here and delve into Rise of Skywalker.
All right, yeah, let's have a little chat about this movie.
So out of 10, how would you rank this? I would say my pick 7 out of 10.
I was going to say like a 6.5 or a 7, I think. Reason being is I did enjoy it. It was fun, but I definitely disagree with some of the story decisions that were made.
Yeah. It's not the best Star Wars movie. It's not the worst Star Wars movie by any means. There are moments in the film that are fucking fantastic. And there are moments in the film where I was in my seat saying, huh? But the moments were few and far between. My big issue with the trilogy itself is that there is no connectivity. And after watching The Rise of Skywalker, going back on Saturday and watching The Last Jedi, and knowing that Rey is a Palpatine, there is a total sense of a lack of connectivity between Episode 8 and Episode 9. I love The Last Jedi, and we get a really good message that, hey, anyone, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, can be special. And we delve into Episode 9, and we find out, nope, Rey is a fucking Palpatine, and that's why she is so powerful. And I just felt like that was one of the reasons why this movie gets knocked down a little bit, because of the fact that it doesn't really do a great job of picking up where Episode 8 left off. It's just its own thing. I feel like this was J.J. Abrams cramming into a 2-hour plus movie what he wanted Episode 8 and Episode 9 to delve into.
I agree.
For me, a big issue was Rey being a Palpatine. I'm okay with Palpatine coming back in the fold, but did we really have to make Rey a Palpatine?
Right. I know I think the first time that we watched it, I was like, wait, when did Palpatine have a son? I think it was just a magical son that we have no idea where he came from, though it's not been in the story at any point in time or mentioned. I think that was one of the disappointing things as well. It's just, we're going to throw this at you, so you better just take it. With Rey being the nobody, like at the end of The Last Jedi, we have that little boy who force pulls the broom to him, looking up into the stars, and I feel like that was a very poignant moment. And then to have kind of like almost a little bit of a slap in the face to say, well, you're not that special. You got to be a Palpatine or a Skywalker or somebody important.
I completely agree. I love The Last Jedi. So some of you that are listening may disagree with me. And I absolutely loved the theme of anyone can be special that we got from The Last Jedi. But now we are basically being told Rey is powerful because of her bloodline. I read a really good comment on Reddit where someone basically said these 3 films, if they were to stand alone, they're all good. But when you take them together as a trilogy, they don't jive together.
Right. And I know we had discussed this before, that they really need to get somebody who's like a Kevin Feige, who's going to oversee these Star Wars projects and really make sure that Disney and Lucasfilm have a path set out before they start filming, before they do some of this stuff.
Yeah, and what fucking kills me is that Disney has the resources for this. This is a multi-billion-dollar organization that has the Lucasfilm Story Group, and what killed me is after seeing The Rise of Skywalker, seeing people like Star Wars Explained, Emergency Awesome, seeing articles talking about J.J. Abrams not utilizing the Lucasfilm Story Group, who is responsible for basically being Star Wars fact checkers.
I mean, right now we'll say that is just currently a rumor, but I think a really good example is the Poe storyline, where in The Rise of Skywalker, we find out that Poe was a spice runner apparently right before he went to the rebellion, but previously it's been stated that he's been in the New Republic Navy. So that's really 2 totally different storylines.
Completely different. And when we're living in a post-MCU world, this shit should not happen. And they need to, if they're going to continue to make Star Wars movies, make sure that there is an overarching goal with whatever story that they're looking to tell. Use the resources that are available and make sure you have, if it's a trilogy or something beyond that, make sure you have that shit planned out and mapped out.
But we do overall both like this movie.
I do. I really enjoy the movie, but
I'm gonna say, what
with
did
that
you
said,
like?
There are several things that I fucking loved about this film. There was like a 20-minute span of time where straight up I was in tears. I could not control myself. No other Star Wars movie has ever made me cry. I was very close in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin is starting to turn. Other than that, dude, never cried before in a Star Wars movie. I cried for like 20 minutes during this film because a lot of shit happens basically in the midway point, and the scenes between Rey and Kylo/Ben Solo was fucking incredible. Probably some of the best moments, not only just in the sequel trilogy, But really, for me, some of my favorite moments in the entirety of Star Wars that we've seen up to this point, it was incredible.
Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley are so good together, and they really play off each other very, very well.
Adam Driver is the MVP of this sequel trilogy, hands down. He is such a good actor. And I think that's one of the things about the sequel trilogies, or pretty much any of the Star Wars films that have been made up to this point. They're all made extremely well. Good acting, great production, and that can definitely be said of The Rise of Skywalker. And yes, I agree with you, dude. The chemistry between Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver was really great.
I also really enjoyed kind of the adventuring between Rey and Poe, and you had Finn and Chewie and BB-8 and C-3PO. It was just kind of like the gang got back together. They're having an adventure, but it was really fun to kind of see all of these characters together that we hadn't seen together before.
Yeah, I know that's something that some people didn't like about the movie, but I enjoyed it, dude. Someone said that they felt like it was a video game. I can kind of see that, but I enjoyed it. I did really like it.
The new Jumanji movies, is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah. So I enjoyed that. I did like it. But yeah, to me, I think the moments between Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley stole the fucking show for me. And like I said, I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a little kid. I'm 33, so going on 30 years or so of me being a Star Wars fan. The moments that we get of Kylo Ren transitioning to the light side and becoming Ben Solo, and these moments between him and Daisy Ridley are some of my favorite in the entire Star Wars saga. It was so fucking good, dude. Oh my God. And then when Leia dies, when she sacrifices herself for Ben, like, oh my God, dude, just like gut-wrenching.
Then you have Han talking to Ben. That was great.
I just started crying like a baby with Han. I was like, oh, Han, my boy.
Hey, kid.
And I love how they do that, too. It like perfectly mirrors what we saw in The Force Awakens. He didn't have the strength then to do the right thing, but now he does. And he finally becomes Ben Solo. Oh my God, it's so fucking good.
It really is. And when he comes to Exegol at the end of the movie, tear my heart out.
Dude, so good. And then just he and Rey partnering up again. And I loved it because I'm watching The Last Jedi and she's telling Kylo Ren, I saw your future. You're going to turn to the light. And I love this because, yes, they probably saw the vision of them fighting in the throne room, but it wound up being true. He came back to the light. We got Bendemption, and we, even for those Reylo fans, we even got a little kiss.
I thought that was so funny. So like the first time we saw it, the gentleman who was sitting next to me, he came with a group of his friends, and he was probably like in his 50s, and they were talking about like, well, we're the old guard Star Wars fan, and like you could tell he was like, oh, that kiss was weird. And like you could also hear gasps from like younger Star Wars fans that were like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. So it was just kind of funny to hear and kind of see like the Reylo fans, and like that came out of nowhere and was like, no, it didn't.
Yeah, and you had pointed this out to me that right after she kisses him, we see him smile for the first time in this entire trilogy. Oh, it was great, man. Oh, it was so good. So it had these moments that were totally endearing and absolutely pulling on your heartstrings and absolutely incredible. But pacing was an issue, definitely. And like I said, it does kind of have a little bit of a vibe like you're in a video game. You're kind of just going from, we're getting this object, now we're going here, now we're going there. And then it starts towards like the last third of the movie, start to settle in to a decent pace.
I did enjoy some of the jokes as well. I thought there was some good humor in it too. But overall, I think I had fun. And honestly, after watching it a second time, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more because I was able to kind of step back from those shocking, like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that moment, and just kind of accept it for what it was and enjoy the things that I did like.
I will say this. I generally enjoyed this movie and had a ton of fucking fun seeing this movie. And I'll tell you what, man, this is when I'm older, thinking back to my experience of going to this movie and seeing it will be a memory that I will look back on very happily. I mean, we drove separately to the theater. I had to call you on the way home because I was just like emotion overload. I was fighting tears as I was driving home. I was extremely giddy and happy and sad and just feeling so many crazy emotions So that to me is always going to be special, regardless of some of the things that maybe I wasn't too happy with. It still was a great experience and a really fun movie.
I don't have anything to add to that, so I'm going to...
So I will say I generally enjoy it. I give it a thumbs up, but some of the issues that I had, I just think are more levied towards Disney as a whole.
So I think we'll have a break. I think the next Star Wars movie is supposed to be 2022, so we get a break, but we're still going to have plenty of content, plenty of TV shows. So I don't think they're going to be stopping the Star Wars train anytime soon.
Dude, I hope they still give us a Rian Johnson trilogy.
Oh, I hope so too. I don't care what it is, but just let's do it.
Do you feel that this movie was Disney or J.J. Abrams pandering to some of the more vocal side of the fandom that was not pleased with The Last Jedi? Or do you think that maybe some of the things that we're talking about, the connectivity issues, were more of JJ just having a vision on where he wanted to take the story following episode 7 and then just did it in episode 9?
I'm going to take the easy way out and say it's a little bit of both.
I think so too.
And one of the main reasons why I think that that's the case is look at how involved Rose Tico was in The Last Jedi.
Fucking kills me, dude.
She literally had, 4 lines? Her and Finn hardly interacted, maybe once. We had, I can't think of his name, Dominic, what's-his-face, that was in Lost. He was in this movie and he had more lines than Rose did.
Yeah.
Why not just give those lines to Rose? Because she's been around. She is a hero in the rebellion. Why are we not giving her more to do? I personally thought she was a great character. I think she's been through a lot of shit with just the fans in general. And I think she deserved better.
Without getting too much into it, I think a lot of the backlash for The Last Jedi is a lot of fucking misogyny and bullshit in the fandom that men have to get over, basically, with women. But that's a whole other fucking conversation for another time. But I think Rose Tico's character is a perfect example of why I do agree with you. I think it's 2 parts. I think it's JJ had a story he wanted to tell and he didn't give a fuck. But I also think that Disney, to some degree, was pandering to the people that were displeased with The Last Jedi and was trying to basically get them back on their side. Because from what I can tell, people that didn't like The Last Jedi seem to really fucking love The Rise of Skywalker. People that didn't like The Rise of Skywalker generally seem to like The Last Jedi. I think you and I are a little bit, from what I can tell, are a little bit more like an anomaly because...
Even keel, maybe?
Yeah. We like both of them, but I do think that there was some pandering on Disney's part with this film.
Agreed. And hopefully with the wonderful, large Star Wars future, we will have more content and people won't have to get as maybe up in arms or as defensive for the movies that they do like, because there will be so much content to choose from. So everybody can enjoy and not enjoy their own things.
I think Disney just fucking botched the return of Star Wars, dude. I think they jumped too fucking quickly into Star Wars without having any plan whatsoever, because that is clear as day now that this trilogy has been released, that they had no fucking plan whatsoever. They really wanted to just get a return on their investment as quickly as possible, and that probably wasn't the best idea. They probably should have waited some time, planned things out, and really, I think they should have gotten completely away from the legacy characters in the films. I mean, you've heard me say this a ton of times over the year. I had no fucking interest when it was announced that there was going to be a new trilogy in hearing any more about Luke, Leia, and Han. We had an entire trilogy already with those characters. I really wasn't interested in those characters on the big screen anymore. I wanted new characters. So I think for me, that's part of why I wasn't so upset with The Last Jedi, because that seems to be the overarching theme with why people didn't like The Last Jedi, is how Luke was portrayed. I didn't even want to see Luke in the sequel trilogy. So I think the further we get away from the legacy character's story with any sort of new films that Disney puts out, I think, at least I hope, especially with Kevin Feige now being aboard on Lucasfilm, that we will not have these same issues.
Pray to little baby Yoda, Daniel.
I pray to little baby Yoda. So final takes. Movie is fun. Go into it, enjoy it, have fun. If you're like me, there's going to be a span of like 15-20 minutes where you will fucking cry.
Oh, I was right there with you. It's fine.
There are moments that are a little bit like, what the fuck? But it's an enjoyable movie. Sadly, I think Disney has to right the ship here after this trilogy and has to get their shit together.
I have faith. I think they're paying enough
think so,
people
too.
enough money that they can put their brilliant minds together. And
I think so too, especially with our boy Kevin Feige now being a part of, being in the fold.
Yeah, I think the next couple of years, when they start figuring out what the next steps are, I'm super excited to see what new content that they have in store for us. But other than that, Dan, got anything else to add?
If you have not, make sure to subscribe to the show, rate the show on iTunes, help other nerds listen along and be nerds with us.
Otherwise, make sure that you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We are Dan's on Fandoms for all three. Otherwise, everyone, stay nerdy.